This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Everywhere you turn, it's the same old sports talk, the same headlines, the same news, and the same boring information. This podcast is here to change all of that. We bring you hot sports takes, winning sports betting strategy and picks, reliable gaming industry news, and breaking interviews with some of the biggest names in sports business. My name is Ryan Newpel, and welcome to the Knup Sports Show.
Hey, this is Rodney Newpel from Knup Sports. That's KNUPsports.com, and this is our Lit Fire Sports podcast. Well, the NBA draft has come to an end, and pretty exciting NBA draft. Several trades went down, including the big one, Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler to the Minnesota Timberwolves. We'll talk about that more in a later podcast. But the draft last night, with the players drafted, kind of went off without a hitch for the most part. Markelle Fultz, of course, from Washington, was the top pick. Most considered him the most complete prospect in the draft. Great size, great athleticism. Now he's part of the Philadelphia 76ers. He'll join Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid. They have their big three. We'll see if they can stay healthy and compete in Eastern Conference. I'd project them to win close to 40 games next year. Should make the playoffs 18-19 season. We'll see. A lot of ifs for the Philadelphia 76ers. Second pick, of course, Mr. Lonzo Ball. We all hear about his dad, LeVar Ball, predicting that he would be a Laker at a young age, and, well, he is. Lonzo Ball now goes to the Lakers. He will be their point guard. He's the most talented passer to come into the draft since most people are saying Jason Kidd. That's pretty good a comparison. He makes everybody on his team better on the court. So we'll see what happens with Lonzo Ball. But he was the second pick. He's going to the Lakers. They did pick him. They did keep that pick. Number 3 overall, then out of Duke went Jason Tatum. Now there was some question whether Jason Tatum would be third or the small forward out of Kansas, Josh Jackson, would go third. There was also some talks whether the Celtics would make their trade. Celtics have been asking for a lot, and they kept their picks, and Danny Ainge decided, well, we'll just keep our picks and get some young, good players. Well, Jason Tatum, many people call the best scorer in the draft, and possibly the most ready NBA player there is. Now, we'll see what happens there with Jason Tatum. 6'8", 204 pounds. Can he contribute to the 2017-2018 Boston Celtics? We'll find out, but he's in a great spot. He's in a very, very good spot with a number 1 seed in the East, Boston Celtics, and many of their top players coming back. We'll see what happens in the offseason, but Jason Tatum, the number 3 pick. Josh Jackson then went number 4, 6'8", 202 out of Kansas. I've seen a lot of Josh Jackson being a Kansas fan. Scouts are worried a little bit about his jump shot. He doesn't shoot the ball tremendously well. He's kind of got a funky shot. Doesn't make the free throw shot very well as well. And headed off the court incident last year. But I think Josh Jackson has kind of straightened himself out a little bit. He's an aggressive defender, and he'll go along with Devin Booker for the Phoenix Suns. And I thought the Phoenix Suns had a pretty good draft. They did a nice job, especially starting there with Jackson. And it'll be interesting to see what Phoenix does. They need help, as they were one of the worst teams in the NBA last year. Josh Jackson should help them. Obviously, still not a playoff team, but they should help them. De'Aaron Fox gets put in kind of a tough situation. Last year, obviously, he would have been teamed up with Boogie Cousins. He goes to the Sacramento Kings at the number 5 pick. He is tough, aggressive, hard worker, super fast, like a cheetah in the open court. Culture changer, that's what the Kings are looking for. Very, from what most people are saying, a great personality for De'Aaron Fox. So we'll find out. We'll find out what he does for Sacramento. But another Kentucky player picked in the top 10. We'll talk a little bit more about Kentucky as we go on. Malik Monk just outside the top 10. And then Bam. Bam was also picked early in the draft, 14th to Miami. So 3 Kentucky players in the top 15. John Calipari continues to do the job. Number 6 was Jonathan Isaac, 6'11", 205 out of Florida State. Most people thought after Ball, Fultz, and Jackson went, he'd probably have the biggest upside of anybody in the draft. He's also one of the biggest developmental guys that there is out there. He's got a lot of work to do. We'll see what happens. It was John Hammond's pretty much first pick as the new GM of the Orlando Magic, so we'll see what happens. But a lot of people in Orlando love Jonathan Isaac, of course, playing his high school or college basketball at Florida State. Needs to add some strength, kind of a little bit weak. He admitted it in his post-draft interview, But Jonathan Isaac, very talented player, 6'11", should help out. A lot of people compare him to Aaron Gordon. Now, that would mean they'd have two Aaron Gordons on the team, but Jonathan Isaac, very talented player. Number 7 then went to the Chicago Bulls as part of that Jimmy Butler trade. And then went Lauri Markkanen. Stretch 4, great size and agility, possibly the best shooter in the draft. Now, Nikolai Mirotek's still with the Bulls. He's hitting restricted free agency. We'll see what happens there. Bulls say they like to keep Mirotek. Kind of seems odd they'd have Mirotek and Markkanen together, kind of the same player. Kind of a bigger, better kind of shooting replacement for Mirotek. We'll see what happens. But Bulls also picked up Chris Dunn and Zach LaVine as part of that Jimmy Butler trade. So Lauri Markkanen went 7th from Arizona. Then number 8, the Knicks picked Frank. Frank from France. The tidbit on Frank was he was tonight, actually, Friday night. He's going to play in his championship game over there in France, but he flew to the States to be part of that. He was the starting point guard, French League Finals. Still needs to continue his jump shot, but a lot of people think he will really grow. Need a point guard. The Knicks really need a point guard and someone that will go alongside Porzingis. I think the Knicks are keeping Porzingis. Phil's kind of just trying to float that out there, see what's available, and kind of send a message to Porzingis that he is willing to trade him, but I don't think he's actually willing to trade him. 6'5", has a 7-foot wingspan, does Frank. So we'll see. 6'5", 180. Like his upside, obviously there's a potential every draft pick you make, there's potential for bust, but like Frank's upside, so we'll see what happens there. Dennis Smith was number 9, 6'2", 190 out of North Carolina State. A lot is made about some of these guys not making the NCAA tournament. Well, Markelle Fultz, top pick in the draft. Ben Simmons last year, top pick in the draft. Neither one of those guys made the NCAA tournament. I don't know if it's a perfect fit for the Dallas Mavericks, but he had a great workout according to the Mavericks. Could be the best athlete in the draft. Potential to be a great scorer. Not real big, not real long at 6'2", 190. Dallas made a little bit of a gamble there, trying to pair him up with Harrison Barnes and Nerlens Noel. So Dennis Smith, number 9 to Dallas. Zach Collins then got picked 10th out of Gonzaga, and he was thrilled to hear that he is going to be going to the Portland Trail Blazers, and he's got a chance to compete for a spot on a playoff team. 7 foot, 233. Probably remember Collins from the tournament run by Gonzaga as they finished runner-up. Great fit for the Blazers. Kind of looking to upgrade at the 4 position, stretch the floor. He can also protect the rim a little bit. Needs to work on his strength, as do all these guys in the draft, but gave up the 15th and 20 pick to get him. A lot of people involved with the NBA say that was a good deal for Portland. I think it was also a good deal for Sacramento, who ended up picking up Justin Jackson at 15 and Harry Giles at 20. So number 10, Zach Collins. Malik Monk went number 11 out of Kentucky, most explosive scorer in the draft, according to many. Now he's going to be teamed up with Kemba Walker and Nicholas Batum. I think if this was a different year of the draft, you'd see Malik Monk picked a lot earlier, but there was a lot of good players in this draft. Malik Monk went number 11. Number 12, Luke Kennard out of Duke went to the Detroit Pistons. One of the best shooters in college basketball, 6'6", 196. I don't know if he's going to be a playmaker in the pros. I find that hard to believe, but he can shoot the basketball, and Detroit needs some help at the shooting guard. So Luke Kennard going 12. Donovan Mitchell went 13. He's headed to the Jazz after the Nuggets basically drafted him and will be trading him. Trey Lyles was part of that, and Trey Lyles was kind of disappointing last year. So Donovan Mitchell will be heading to the Utah Jazz, his 13th pick. Bam Adebayo was picked 14th. I always screw that name up. 6'10", 242, has the NBA body. He's got great athleticism. Obviously very raw. Looked raw at Kentucky, still raw in the first year of the NBA, but could be a big help for the Miami Heat. Justin Jackson, of course, 15. The Chicago Bulls had the 16th pick, but that was traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Minnesota picked up 6'11", 229 center Justin Patton, very raw as well. Could be an opportunity to play with Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns is going to be the big man for Minnesota for years, but Justin Patton, a nice tool to have, maybe as a as a backup or a substitute if Cat goes down or is in foul trouble. Justin Patton out of Creighton was the 16th pick overall. Out of Michigan, 17th, DJ Wilson. A little bit of a surprise here, but he stretches the floor. Milwaukee continues to get those long guys that stretch the floor. Just look at the Greek Freak. Not quite as tough as a lot of NBA scouts would have liked to have seen him, but he's got a big upside. 18, TJ Leaf went to the Indiana Pacers. I'm just not sure what the Indiana Pacers are doing, but he'll be able to join Miles Turner there. John Collins then was drafted 19th out of Wake Forest. He's going to Atlanta now that Dwight Howard and Paul Millsap look to be gone. Number 20, Harry Giles, heading to the Kings out of Duke. So 6'11", 232. He's got a lot of talent. Was one of the top prospects in the draft, but he tore his ACL and early in his high school career and kind of fallen since then. We'll see what happens with Harry Giles. The last 10 picks: Terrence Ferguson, Jarrett Allen, OG Anabayu, Tyler Lydon, Angus Pesniks from Latvia went 25th. Caleb Swanigan, 26. Good story there out of Purdue. The big man from Purdue is going to the Portland Trailblazers. They're trying to beef up their front court. Kyle Kuzma then went 27. He's going to the Lakers via a trade from the Nets. Tony Bradley from North Carolina. You know, it's funny when Tony Bradley was picked, I'm like, I don't even remember this guy in college. He didn't play a lot of minutes for North Carolina, but did play on the national championship team. 6'11", 250 out of North Carolina. Derek White then from Colorado was the 29th pick in the draft. And then 30th pick, Josh Hart. I like Josh Hart out of Villanova. He is headed to the Lakers via trade with the Jazz. That's a look at the first round of the NBA draft. Some interesting names such as Frank Mason drafted in the second round. Second round guys. Some of them pan out. Some of them obviously don't. But there was a few interesting names. And a couple other names. Frank Jackson from Duke was picked in there. Like I said, Frank Mason. Ivan Rabb out of California. Jordan Bell was picked by the Bulls, and then he was traded to the Golden State Warriors. So Jordan Bell could get an opportunity to play for the defending champs right away. We'll see what happens with a few of their bench guys. Dylan Brooks from Oregon also picked. Sendarius Thornwell went 48th. Monte Morris out of Iowa State went 51. Alec Peters, a Valpo guy, 54. Nigel Williams-Goss, 55. And finishing up, Alpha Kaba from France was the last pick. 60th pick. Power forward goes to the Atlanta Hawks. Do you call it Mr. Irrelevant? He's a skilled athletic stretch four, run the floor. Obviously, he needs to develop a lot of things, but 6'10" out of France can never. You can never teach size, and that pick obviously came from Golden State via Philadelphia and Utah. Find it interesting, some of these trades and where they came from originally. So that's a look at the 2017 NBA draft. I thought it was a fun, entertaining draft. I watched pretty much all night, and now it's time to figure out where these guys are going to compete, if they're going to get an opportunity to play. And the summer leagues will go on in the NBA, and now it's really time for the free agency and the trades that could go on in the NBA. All right, that's a wrap. I'm Rodney Newpel from Knup Sports, and this has been your Lit Fire Sports podcast. So long for just a while.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Knup Sports Show. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider subscribing to our iTunes channel today. Plus, visit us at knupsports.com for more picks, previews, strategy, and news. That's knupsports.com.